One word could make or break a kingdom. A single command misheard, armies moved too soon. A careless promise broken, alliances collapsed. A ruler's speech out of step with reality, and the people stopped listening. Confucius lived in that world, where words were not decoration. They were power. Used rightly, they bound people together. Used wrongly, they dissolved trust, loyalty, even nations. That is why he warned. If names be not correct, language is not in accordance with the truth of things. If language is not in accordance, affairs cannot be carried on to success. Today, we may not command armies, but our words still build, or break, everything around us. Teams, families, friendships, reputations. This video is not about speaking more. It is about speaking so that people believe you, remember you, and act on your words. Here are 10 Confucian rules for speaking so people listen. 1. Make words match reality. Confucius taught that disorder begins not with battles, but with words. In his time, he saw rulers who praised corrupt ministers as loyal, and laws written in lofty language that were twisted in practice. For him, this was not pedantry about vocabulary. It was survival. If language is false, then decisions are false, and if decisions are false, the society they build cannot stand. He called this principle the rectification of names, ensuring that the words we use match the reality they describe. Without that, everything collapses. Imagine an architect handing you blueprints where door sometimes means window, or beam sometimes means rope. You couldn't build the house. The same is true in life and work. When words are slippery, trust erodes, and action falters. This is not ancient history. Look around today. Corporations rebrand layoffs as strategic resizing. Politicians disguise failures as alternative successes. Managers inflate every task into urgent, until the word loses all force. Even in daily life, we tell friends, "I'll try," when we already know we won't, or say, "I'm fine," when we're not. Each time we let words drift from truth, we make our own communication harder to trust. Confucius' wisdom here is radical in its simplicity: speak so that reality and words walk hand in hand. Because when they part ways, respect evaporates. Think of 2 kinds of people in your life. The first loves polished phrases. They're always promising, "I'll get right back to you, leave it with me, we'll smash this target." Yet somehow, the follow-through is always thin. At first, you admire them. But slowly, you start checking behind them, building workarounds, listening with caution. Their words no longer mean what they say. The second is plainer. They don't decorate their speech. They say, "I'll call you Tuesday," and the phone rings Tuesday. They say, "I'm worried about this," and you know they mean it. They don't dazzle you, but you rely on them. And that reliability, in the end, makes them persuasive. Because persuasion without trust is noise. So how do we apply this in our own speech? Guard labels. Don't call something urgent unless it truly is. Don't call a colleague a partner unless they really carry the weight. Don't call yourself done unless the work is genuinely finished. Strip away inflation. Instead of, "We'll leverage cross-platform synergies," say, "We'll connect the teams." Instead of, "We'll circle back," say, "I'll email you Thursday." Plain words, firmly anchored, carry more respect than buzzwords. Tell the truth even when awkward. If you can't attend, say no, not maybe. If you're not fine, don't hide behind the mask of fine. Clarity may sting in the moment, but it builds long-term strength. Check yourself daily. Ask, did my words today match reality? Where did I exaggerate, or soften, or blur? Correcting this drift is like tuning an instrument, daily adjustments that keep the music true. Confucius knew that the collapse of states begins with the collapse of speech. In our lives, the collapse of trust begins the same way. But the opposite is also true. When your words can be relied on, people lean closer, not away. They listen because they believe you mean what you say. That is the foundation of all communication. Before eloquence, before storytelling, before persuasion, comes truth in words. Make them match reality, and people will follow your voice. 2. Speak less, mean more. Confucius told his disciples, "The superior man is modest in speech, but exceeds in action." This was not an attack on eloquence. Confucius admired wisdom expressed clearly. But he saw the danger of words untethered from deeds. One of his brightest students, Zhigong, was famous across the courts of China for his gift of speech. He could charm rulers, silence rivals, and impress nobles with arguments honed to perfection. Yet Confucius took him aside with a quiet warning: words without substance are brittle. They glitter for a moment, but they cannot bear weight. This truth is just as sharp today. Modern life rewards the performers, the pitch deck that dazzles, the leader who crafts grand visions, the colleague who always has the right phrase. But here's the test: what comes after the applause? Too often, the dazzling speech is followed by thin delivery. A project promised in bold colors shrinks into mediocrity. A commitment framed with conviction evaporates in silence. People don't revolt, they simply stop believing. Contrast this with another figure, far less showy. The colleague who says little in the meeting, but every deadline you've ever trusted them with arrives on time. The friend who doesn't announce their loyalty, but is always there at 2 a.m. when you need them. The parent who doesn't make dramatic speeches of devotion, but quietly shows up every day with the steady acts of care. These are the people we trust most, not because they said the right things, but because their actions taught us to believe. Confucius' wisdom here is not to silence yourself, but to right-size your words, promise little, deliver much. It is better to speak simply, even modestly, and let your actions surprise others with their strength. Why this matters today? Think about leadership. A manager who loves slogans, "We're going to revolutionize the sector," may inspire briefly, but if their team finds themselves underpaid, overworked, and without support, the slogans sour. On the other hand, a leader who says only, "We'll do what we can," carefully and steadily, but consistently creates fair conditions, earns deep and lasting respect. Think about personal trust. How many people in your life say, "I'll call," and don't, versus the rare few who always do? The gap between those groups is the gap between hollow words and meaningful ones. How to apply this principle? Resist the urge to impress. The easiest trap is to say yes too quickly, or promise more than you can give. Instead, slow down. Speak commitments only when you're sure you'll carry them. Make words modest, deeds generous. Say, "I'll have 3 options for you tomorrow," not, "I'll have the perfect solution." Then deliver 3 strong options on time. Let reality exceed the promise. Let results carry your voice. Reliability speaks more powerfully than slogans. A report finished early, a kindness offered without fanfare, a responsibility carried without complaint, these are louder than speeches. Over time, this balance changes the way people listen to you. Empty words quickly fade. But words that are few, clear, and backed by action become memorable. People lean forward when you speak, because they know your speech is not theater but signal. Confucius knew that the world did not lack for talkers. What it lacked were people whose actions stood taller than their language. To be one of those people is not just a virtue, it is a strength. Say less, mean more. And let your deeds do the talking. 3. Correct gently, but correct. Confucius warned, "A man who has made a mistake and does not correct it is committing another mistake." This teaching wasn't confined to personal errors in judgment or behavior. For Confucius, the principle extended into speech. Words matter, and when they drift off course, they carry actions with them. If a ruler flatters a corrupt official with the title of loyal, the court soon collapses into disorder. If a law is written carelessly, confusion spreads through the whole state. A wrong word left uncorrected does more than mislead the moment, it multiplies error into the future. We face the same dilemma in modern life. Most of us hesitate to correct others because it feels awkward, even confrontational. We fear being labeled pedantic, difficult, or unkind. So we let mistakes slide, a misused term in a meeting, a false fact repeated in conversation, a miscommunication that everyone politely ignores. But silence does not preserve harmony, it allows confusion to spread. A team might spend weeks chasing the wrong objective because no one clarified the terminology on day one. A friend might lose credibility later because no one gently corrected their error earlier. Confucius' wisdom is clear: correction is not cruelty. Done well, it is respect. To leave someone in error is to watch them stumble while knowing the ground was uneven. To help them correct, kindly and without arrogance, is to protect their dignity and preserve the truth. How to practice gentle correction? Start with humility. Instead of blunt contradiction, "You're wrong," try curiosity. Just to clarify, when you say X, do you mean Y? This opens space without humiliation. Frame it as shared pursuit. Say, "I think the data might show something slightly different, shall we check together?" This makes correction collaborative rather than adversarial. Balance firmness with warmth. Avoid sarcasm, which wounds. Avoid silence, which abandons. Aim for correction that is both steady and kind. Why this builds trust? When you correct someone with care, you do more than save accuracy, you signal reliability. Colleagues learn they can trust you to safeguard clarity without turning the room cold. Friends learn they can speak freely without fear of being left adrift in error. Over time, people come to value your voice, not because it dominates, but because it steadies. Confucius saw correction as the repair that keeps order from sliding into chaos. Left unchecked, mistakes grow roots. Corrected gently, they become learning moments, for you, for the other, and for everyone listening. Correct gently, but correct. It is not criticism, it is respect for both truth and people. 4. Time matters as much as truth. Confucius sometimes left a question unanswered, for a night, or even longer. His disciples puzzled over this. Wasn't he the teacher? Shouldn't he answer immediately? But Confucius knew something subtle. Truth spoken at the wrong moment is not heard as truth. It can wound, embarrass, or vanish into noise. We all know this from experience. You blurt honest feedback in a meeting, only to watch the recipient shrink with shame because the timing humiliated them. You send a late-night reply in anger. The words may have been accurate, but in the wrong hour, they ignite rather than heal. Even in daily life, the same holds. A conversation forced when the other person is exhausted rarely lands, no matter how right your point. For Confucius, wisdom was not only in what you said, but when. Words have seasons. Delivered too early, they fall on unprepared ground. Delivered too late, they lose their power. Delivered at the right time, they take root. Why timing builds trust? It shows respect. By waiting, you signal that the person's dignity matters as much as the content. It saves relationships. A rebuke spoken in public breeds resentment. The same words, spoken privately, can build loyalty. It increases effectiveness. People listen best when they feel safe, not cornered. The right moment multiplies the weight of your words. How to practice it today? Pause before responding. If emotions are high, yours or theirs, wait. Even a breath of silence can cool a conversation. Choose setting as well as timing. Deliver hard truths in private, not in the heat of a group. Share encouragement in public, correction in confidence. Trust delay. Sometimes the best reply today is no reply until tomorrow. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy. Confucius understood that speech is not a race. The point is not to be the first voice, but the one that endures. A truth spoken at the right moment has more force than 100 clever speeches at the wrong one. Time matters as much as truth. Speak when the soil is ready, and your words will take root. 5. Listen before speaking. Confucius was remembered as much for his questions as for his answers. His disciples recorded how he would often pause, probe, and ask again before giving instruction. Why? Because he knew that a teacher who speaks before listening is not teaching, he is only performing. True authority begins in attention. In his time, rulers often surrounded themselves with advisors eager to flatter or impress. They rushed to speak, to show brilliance, to prove loyalty. But Confucius held back. He listened, carefully, patiently, until he understood both the words spoken and the motives behind them. Only then did his speech carry weight. Modern life pushes us the other way. We are trained to perform, to fill every silence, to defend our position, to get our voice in before the meeting moves on. Social media rewards instant reactions, not careful attention. Yet we know from experience that the person who listens deeply, who makes you feel heard, is the one you trust most when they finally speak. Think of a leader who interrupts every sentence. Their advice may even be correct, but because they never truly listened, their words feel hollow. Now think of the friend who sits quietly, asks you one thoughtful question, and then offers a brief response. You remember less of the content, and more of the feeling, they understood me. Why listening builds trust? It gives dignity. Letting someone finish fully signals that their words have worth. It sharpens clarity. Misunderstandings shrink when you ask before asserting. It increases influence. People accept correction more readily when they feel first received, not dismissed. How to practice it today? Delay your response. Count a breath after someone finishes before you speak. It shows patience, not hesitation. Ask before advising. Try, "Can I clarify, do you mean," before giving your view. This ensures you are answering the real question, not your imagined one. Treat silence as part of dialogue. Don't rush to fill the gap. A pause often invites deeper truth. Confucius' insight here is subtle but radical. Speech that follows listening carries more force than speech that leaps ahead of it. The person who truly listens earns the right to be heard. So in your next conversation, don't hurry to impress with words. First, give the gift of attention. Then speak, and watch how much further your words travel. 6. Avoid gossip and slander. In the Analects, we see Confucius repeatedly cut short those who indulged in slander. He knew that gossip didn't just wound reputations, it corroded entire communities. When courtiers whispered against each other in the royal courts of Lu and Wei, unity vanished. A ruler who listened to flattery and rumors instead of truth soon became surrounded by lies, making wise governance impossible. For Confucius, gossip was more dangerous than open disagreement. At least an honest argument brings clarity. Gossip, by contrast, thrives in shadows. It spreads suspicion, fractures loyalty, and replaces trust with fear. He even went so far as to dismiss officials who thrived on whisper networks. To him, no society could be stable if slanderers were allowed to rule the conversation. Why this matters today? We might not live in Confucius courts, but the dynamics are the same. Gossip is poison in the workplace, in families, in friendships. The colleague who leaks complaints from every meeting. The friend who shares someone else's private pain for entertainment. The family member who spreads stories to keep control of the room. The result is always the same. You learn quickly that your words are not safe here. And once trust is gone, it is almost impossible to restore. What's worse, gossip rarely harms only its subject. It also stains the speaker. When someone habitually spreads rumors, others silently conclude, if they talk like this about them, they will talk like this about me. Over time, their credibility withers. Confucius' insight is that gossip is not neutral. It actively undermines the bonds that hold people together, bonds of respect, dignity, and confidence. If trustworthiness, is the virtue that allows people to rely on each other, gossip is its opposite, the habit that makes every relationship fragile. How avoiding gossip builds strength. It makes you reliable. People know their dignity is safe with you, and they turn to you more readily. It protects harmony. Gossip divides groups silently, refusing it preserves cohesion. It earns deep respect. Others recognize that you have the discipline to protect words as carefully as deeds. Practical shifts for modern life. Decline politely. You don't need a moral lecture. A simple, "I'd rather not speculate," or "that's between them," sets a clear boundary. Redirect the talk. Move from tearing down to building up. Have you asked them directly, or how could we support them instead? Guard your own tongue. Before repeating a story, ask, would I say this if they were in the room? If not, hold it back. Confucius' philosophy here is clear: the superior person seeks harmony, not whispers. To be trustworthy means being a safe harbor, a place where words will not be twisted or used against others. So the next time you find yourself in a circle of rumors, remember that your silence speaks louder than their noise. Protect the absent, and you prove yourself trustworthy. And when others learn that their names are safe in your mouth, your word will gain more weight than gossip ever could. 7. Adapt to the listener. Confucius never spoke in one voice to all. He adjusted his words like a craftsman adjusts his tools, shaping them to the person before him. To Zilu, headstrong and impulsive, Confucius was sharp, almost severe, curbing his recklessness with blunt warnings. To Yan Hui, quiet and earnest, he was warm, encouraging, offering gentle praise to fan the flame of his discipline. To Zigong, eloquent but overconfident, he asked probing questions, puncturing pride and steering him back toward humility. The lesson: the truth does not change, but the tone, timing, and manner of delivery must. Confucius understood that words land only if they are shaped to the soil they fall upon. Why this matters today? Modern communication often fails not because the content is wrong, but because the delivery ignores the listener. We speak to our boss the way we'd speak to a peer, and it comes across as careless. We comfort a grieving friend with the language of problem solving, and it feels cold. We explain to a beginner with jargon fit for an expert, and they shut down. Adaptation is not manipulation. It is respect. To meet someone where they are is to dignify their needs. Practical shifts. Pause before speaking. Ask, who is this person, and what do they most need right now? Encouragement, clarity, or challenge? Tailor without betraying truth. You don't change your values or your message, only its shape. The core remains steady, the delivery flexible. Check the response. If their face tightens, you may have pressed too hard. If they brighten, you found the right key. Like music, communication is judged not by the notes alone, but by how they are heard. Modern parallels. Think of the best leaders you've worked with. They didn't speak the same way to everyone. They explained strategy to the board in one tone, then sat beside a junior colleague with a very different one, yet both felt respected and understood. Or think of the friends you trust most. They don't recite platitudes when you're in pain, they listen quietly, or offer only what fits. Their adaptability doesn't weaken their sincerity, it strengthens it. Confucius' wisdom. By tailoring his words to his disciples, Confucius showed that communication is not one size fits all. It is not about broadcasting your truth at maximum volume. It is about shaping your truth so it can be received. That is not manipulation, it is harmony. So before your next conversation, try asking, not just what do I want to say, but what does this person need to hear, and how can I shape it so it reaches them? Because trust is not only in what you say, but in how well you honor the listener with your delivery. 8. Anchor in principle, not performance. Confucius distrusted speeches meant only to impress. He cared for words rooted in justice and sincerity. A ruler who spoke to win applause, he said, soon lost the people's trust, because dazzling words without integrity are like a painted mask, striking at first, but soon unmasked as empty. He lived in an age where orators could rise to power by their tongue alone. But Confucius warned, fine words and an ingratiating face rarely accompany true virtue. He wanted language that was steady, grounded in reality, and aligned with action. The modern problem. Our world is full of performance. Social media posts crafted to look impressive. Speeches in boardrooms designed to dazzle investors. Politicians who master sound bites but fail to govern. Even in personal life, we feel pressure to polish every statement, to say the right thing, for attention or approval. But here's the truth, people quickly sense when words are hollow. The polished presentation that hides confusion leaves an aftertaste of distrust. The over-rehearsed apology feels insincere. The social media persona looks glossy, but few truly believe it. The alternative. When words are anchored in principle, they carry weight. They don't need fireworks, because they come from clarity and conviction. A plain truth spoken sincerely can silence a room where the most clever performance cannot. Practical shifts. Ask before speaking, am I saying this to serve clarity and truth, or just to sound clever? Favor plainness over polish. Instead of leveraging innovative solutions, say, we're testing a new way. Instead of optimizing personal bandwidth, say, I need rest. Anchor in values. If your words reflect fairness, honesty, or respect, they will carry further than the slickest performance. Modern parallels. Think of the mentor, manager, or friend whose words you trust most. It's rarely the one with the fanciest vocabulary. It's the one whose words match their deeds, who speaks without pretense. They may be quiet, even understated, but when they speak, you lean in, because you know it is real. Confucius wisdom. The purpose of speech is not applause, but clarity. Not impressing others, but serving the truth. As Confucius saw it, words are either bridges to trust or barriers to it. Hollow performance builds the barrier. Sincere clarity builds the bridge. So in your next conversation, resist the urge to perform. Speak for substance, not show. In the end, people remember less how polished your words sounded, and more whether they rang true. 9. Close the loop. Confucius condemned rulers who issued decrees but never acted on them. For him, this was more than weakness, it was betrayal. A promise from authority carried weight, and when that promise dissolved, so too did the trust of the people. Without trust, we do not know how a state can stand. This principle holds far beyond politics. Words unfulfilled are worse than silence. The colleague who says, "I'll send it tomorrow," and never does. The friend who always promises to call but never calls. The manager who launches initiative after initiative but follows through on none. At first you listen. Then you adjust. Eventually, you stop believing altogether. The erosion of trust. What breaks trust is not usually one dramatic betrayal, it is the drip, drip, drip of small promises ignored. Each one seems trivial in the moment, but together they form a story. This person's words carry no weight. And once that story takes root, even your sincerest commitments are doubted. Why it matters today. In a world overflowing with words, emails, texts, posts, promises, the rarest currency is follow-through. People crave not more eloquence, but reliability. The voice that keeps its word cuts through noise more powerfully than the smoothest speech. Practical shifts. Close the loop. If you say you'll reply, reply. If you promise an update, deliver it, even if the update is simply, still working on it. Communicate change. If plans shift, don't let silence fill the gap. Say, "I can't do this today, but I'll get it to you Friday." People forgive change, they don't forgive being ignored. Promise less, keep more. It's better to give one clear commitment and meet it than scatter a dozen and miss them. Modern image. Think of the people you trust most. Chances are, they're not the most charismatic. They're the ones whose words are safe. If they say they'll be there at 8, you don't check twice. If they say they'll call, your phone rings. That consistency is quiet, but it builds unshakable confidence. Confucius wisdom. The weight of words is not measured when spoken. It is measured in the follow-up. Speech without action is empty air. But speech fulfilled, even in the smallest things, becomes a foundation others can stand on. So don't just speak well. Finish what you say. In the end, people listen not because you spoke, but because you proved your words worth hearing. 10. Let words build, not break. Confucius sought harmony, but not the shallow kind that avoids truth. He never asked his disciples to stay silent when correction was needed. Instead, he taught that words should move life forward, not drag it down. Truth, he believed, must be spoken, but spoken in a way that preserves dignity and strengthens trust. He knew the difference lay not in the content, but in the delivery. A harsh word could shut a person down, a careful one could open them up to change. 2 managers, 1 lesson. Think of 2 leaders faced with the same mistake. One snaps, "This is wrong, you failed again." Another says, "Here's where we can improve this together." Both identify the error. Both point toward correction. But one leaves behind resentment, and the other leaves behind motivation. Confucius insight. This is what Confucius meant when he distinguished between harmony, and flattery or cruelty. Harmony is not avoiding hard truths, but expressing them in ways that allow growth. Harsh correction wins the point but loses the person. Gentle truth preserves both. Practical shifts. Pause before reacting. Ask, am I speaking to solve the problem, or to release my frustration? If it's the latter, wait. Frame critique with respect. Instead of, "You did this wrong," try, "Here's how we can strengthen this." Balance truth with encouragement. Point out what worked as well as what didn't. Trust is built when people know you see the whole picture, not just their flaws. Why it matters. In workplaces, families, and friendships, the scars left by careless words last long after the mistake is fixed. But words that correct with dignity deepen trust, because they show that your aim is not to tear down, but to build up. Confucius wisdom. Even hard truths can be spoken in ways that strengthen. The goal of speech is not victory, but connection, words that carry clarity and care. When you master this balance, people will not only listen to you, they will trust you enough to change. Confucius warned that when words drift from truth, disorder follows. But when words are clear, sincere, and steady, trust flourishes. Families hold together. Teams thrive. Friendships deepen. Think about it, most of the pain we carry comes not from lack of effort, but from broken words, the promise never kept, the harsh comment never forgotten, the truth avoided until it was too late. And most of the strength we lean on comes from the opposite, the person whose word is safe, whose speech steadies us, whose honesty makes the world clearer. So ask yourself, in your own life, do your words bring clarity or confusion? Do people leave conversations with you lighter or heavier? Do your words build trust or quietly chip away at it? Here's the challenge, write one way you'll practice better speech this week in the comments. It could be as simple as saying less but meaning more, correcting gently instead of harshly, or closing the loop on a promise you've left hanging. Then share this video with someone whose words you rely on, or someone who may need the reminder that speech has power. And subscribe for the next lesson, where we'll keep turning Confucius' ancient wisdom into modern strength.